perhaps we can save some of that speculation for you, my friend, because look at that. Vex is gone right away.
Well, that's one.
Taken out by Mirage, so perhaps you want to make sure that no powerful blue side picks, red side picks, I should say, can come on forward. But on the other end, for LDLC, they want to deny Cody's son. Now, I know the devs were talking about it between Sierra and Vicious. They were saying, yo, Cody's son, this guy is the definition of a top-level ADC. Although his twists and turns most recently, he was on TSM Academy with your son, right? And that's a very stand-up performances. So I think I'm going to be looking at this dude, especially on Mirage, to see how he shows up today, considering the bot lane meta we've been presented with. Before now, that's not super notable band so far, but TF and Jay's taken off as well.
Right, a lot of this is quite standard, regardless of who's on either team. I mean, you just got to get rid of these really strong power picks. Even though Caitlyn hasn't done so great on the day, I think 50%, if anything at all, but overall, still really strong if executed correctly, as we managed to see both sides of it. So it makes sense you just get rid of it. LeBlanc, another big one. The Camille, I think that's the first ban we have seen today from this champion. So it could kind of make me think that we're leaning towards already LDLC is looking for a more tankier top side. Because when you end up playing those things like Scion, Malphite, or maybe you want to go the route of Gnar, Camille ends up kind of eating your food.
Yeah, I mean, but speaking of things that have been in our meals the entire day, Jinx shows up B1, bro. Now, it's been quite a little bit since I've seen a Jinx B1 pick, but this could potentially be actually countered to see if they can allow for some backline access. Okay, and they got Lucian Nami. We're running to get back for 2020 season meta, right? We're looking at the new passes. We're looking at more enchanters, and Lucian Nami is actually so solid into Jinx.
Yeah, it was worth noting, though, that Thresh is still available here. So overall, though, I don't think the Jinx Thresh is going to find those level 1 shenanigans like we saw earlier in the first game here with K-Corp and Misfits because, well, the level 1 of Lucian Nami is probably the strongest in the game. It is disgusting. So the Lulu coming in here is really nice because the amount of shielding, the disengage with that polymorph, I think is a really good way to do what you want to do when you're supporting Jinx. Get her through the laning phase, get her to 2 items, and then you can start to fight because that's when she starts running people down.
Yeah, it's a... You want to keep this ADC safe. We were talking about it the entire day.
Yeah.
If you pour gold into this hyper carry, then she will do exactly that, hyper carry. And making sure that she stays alive, things will go a lot better from there. Now, this actually is something that I know we've been thinking a lot about. A lot of the junglers within the LFL are very, very comfortable and do actually favor this Xin Zhao pick. We haven't seen it a ton, but Yike is another person who absolutely loves this pick. It's one of his favorites alongside Lee Sin, and this is the matchup that we see far too often in the jungle.
Right, last year, this year, the AD jungles are still reigning supreme, and honestly, with how strong they are in the early game, won't blame them. And you do need some kind of frontline, some engaged, sustained kind of champions with CC so that you can allow yourself to go for these Namis, these Lulus in the bottom lane. Because what happens when you have these engaged supports for the last year or so, them being largely meta, when you switch it out, the engage has to come from somewhere. So I think that's part of what's keeping them in the game.
Yeah, and considering the engage options that we've seen so far, a lot of this is based around the supports or even just making sure that you take long-range pokes and using that Jhin as a setup. Now, Jhin isn't exactly engaged, but, it physically and literally opens up the map for you to go where you want. But speaking of things that do open up the map as well, Xerath, a terror that we saw come up against Vitality, being up by Solari, also taken off as well. And we know Rangjun to be like a fantastic laner. He does play a lot of those mages, so could potentially have brought that on. There's that Victor you were talking about as well here, Beatdown. So a lot of power picks taken out, the LeBlanc taken out too. But Syndra's still up, right? Orianna's still up. A lot of Rise.
Yep, there's still a lot of options available, but of course the strongest ones certainly taken off of the board, especially the Victor. I would have been surprised if it got all the way this far. And it's interesting, 1 ban left and we're already seeing 5 or 6 bans in the mid lane category, and the Syndra is going to go there as well. So you got to imagine it could just very well be an Orianna angle. I mean, no matter who ends up picking you do have very reliable ball delivery service when you think about Lee Sin or Xin Zhao.
Exactly, and considering what you want to go into, but this is something that does not not deliver any sort of robotic ball to you. It in fact delivers high-powered Excalibur rockets, like absolutely barreling down the stream, and that's going to be the Corki lock-in. Not going to talk about it before, but Ethan, you know this. I love Corki. I adore him as just a mid laner and ADC, and I would say he's more than just a powerful pick. He's my friend.
Well, I'm glad they ended up picking your friend. I don't see Nunu in the distance, so nobody's going to be picking my friend anytime soon. But I do like the pick. I agree with you. I think it's really strong here, especially because of the, there's the absolute absurd amounts of damage, the range it's going to be able to offer. And that's kind of perpetuated when you think about Mirage grabbing the Gwen there for Bad Lulu in the top lane. He's a very reliable player. Bad Lulu has a lot of potential, has shown a lot of skill. So this is going to be tough for him. He's going to have to find ways to be able to close the gap and get on top of people, because when you think about the mobility that everyone has on LDLC's side, like, you got to imagine this is a ghost angle just so you can try and get on these people.
Oh yeah, bro, because going back to the point about Bad Lulu, now we'll talk about him a lot more within the game, but this dude is a bad mamma jamma. So I'm thinking they're going to try to play very scrappy, very 2v2 based, right? So I expect a lot of focus to be put around just the top side of the map for Mirage. Really pay attention to how Bad Lulu plays his lane and how often we see Memento just chilling around top side. Because if he manages to, perhaps slow down Aiken, or if he gets Bad Lulu ahead, we've seen the carry performance specifically from Vizichachi as well, who on this Gwen absolutely tore people up, and Bad Lulu is no different. We were saying this guy loves to be very lane dominant. He's a bloodthirsty top laner, so expect a lot of early skirmishes.
Yeah, unless Memento is there, those skirmishes probably won't go into his favor. But if he takes them, I'll respect that. Poke lanes, never fun to begin with here, especially as the Gwen, who does want time to get some items and scale up. But yes, as you say, Bad Lulu definitely has his carry pants on. Let's see if they fit as time goes on.
I mean, if they don't fit, perhaps with some items like a belt, perhaps he can build things forward.
Maybe Memento could be that belt,
Memento could be that belt, you're right. A nice belt will absolutely save you from embarrassment and make you look like a sharper person. I'm sure Memento can do exactly that here, beatdown.
Right. Speaking of, we're going to have an eye on both of these junglers here. So we have the solo start from both of them. However, a lot of good deep vision is going to pretty much give Yikes away in terms of his location. They know he started top. They know he's pathing bot. Memento, though, he's doing his best secret agent impression. Nobody knows where he is at the moment, and he could very well show up in the bottom lane unexpected, or maybe even mid lane in transition to shake things up.
Call him double OM, bro, because we don't know where he is. He's moving in the side.
I don't know where he is.
Bro, because he's a real G, because real G is moving silence like lasagna, brother. and him doing that, to like you mentioned, it gives a lot of opportunity, considering they're not tracking yet. You were talking about his last game too. How does he now big brain his other jungler, knowing where they're at, tracking his own farming, right? So he could potentially try to meet him bot side, which is likely where Yike is looking to be able to go. Xin Zhao lost to be able to gank early, and he made it level 3, and he's about to go in here, beatdown.
You see, it's going for the 3 camp, a timer you would normally expect playing against the Xin Zhao, but I don't think they are expecting it here. You can see Yike is going through. They're getting aggressive. But maybe the timing's a little off.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird considering the wave is pushing in pretty heavily. I think it's something that they didn't necessarily expect, right? Either, especially up against the Jinx, you're thinking, yo, it's Lucian, it's Nami, you should be able to farm pretty easily, especially alongside that passive. But instead, they've been so busy trading, and Lulu can poke back just as nicely that suddenly, Yike has to try to walk away, gets a crab for his efforts. But one thing to know is the Memento is still a bot side, and the wave is pushing into them.
Yeah, he could go for something if he wants to. You see the question mark ping, so Yike is pretty aware that he is most likely on the Krug camp right now. But with the reset coming through, Exa and DOS are already gone. I think you just go for the recall here. And this is good for Memento. He ends up going for the full clear. First Scuttle being nerfed as it is, it's not really worth actually trying to path up to the top one for the little tiny bits of gold and XP it actually gives you. So now he's actually ahead of Yike. He's gone for the reset. You see him spend some of his gold, and now he's coming back on the map. He has extra stats to play with.
Oh, how the days of fighting over first crab and throwing the game in 5 minutes have passed passed us by here.
Truly the blabber buff.
And nothing but I like to think of it more as just the Yanko's principle, especially him on Italy, because he missed every single spear. But Yankos is here, but we do have other very talented European laners and junglers to bring us more across the entire map. So speaking of resets as well, with both top laners actually taking the resets right now, Bad Lulu did decide to take a TP right away at 426, so it's more than enough time. But I would expect to see if they possibly try to capitalize on this instead. Jack looks to go in, fight up against Memento. Memento's a big duelist as well, but Ika's already roamed up. Nice Guardian to save him a little bit. He could flash over the wall, can't safeguard.
Oh, the bubble!
Oh, big bubble onto T-Renchun. Now Ignited, and she is going to save him for now. Look to chase this down. Ika does not have Sixers, so he cannot poke them either. Ragnar was also not there.
Yeah, that ends up being a pretty big play. Despite the level advantage in the red buff, you have DOS moving up and landing a really good double bubble there on the Nami. So you do force them away. You get Memento's flash, which is a pretty big deal. If you catch him out like that again, he will be going down. But for the moment, we still haven't gotten first blood. Another quiet early game for the most part in terms of kills on the board, as we're seeing TPs expended just to come back to lane here. Both early game junglers do have this option of going for the dragon if they want to, but maybe you just wait for Exa Kick to come back to lane. I mean, now he's gotten some good recalls off. Now you can see he has the Noon Quiver finished, and they're in a good position to be fighting right now. Cody's probably isn't in an ideal position to be skirmishing just yet, even with the two longswords, just because Jinx early on, not the greatest at fighting.
Yeah, not super great, especially up against the Lulu, right, who's going up against with a Guardian build, not even really airy either. Yep. So she's not going to be able to train on the poke damage too, but I don't mind the necessary defensive build because I'm sure they were expecting this, right? They knew that up against Lucian Nami, they were going to take a lot of damages right on and brought force against them. So the shielding and the extra tank stats will definitely save them a lot more of that headache though. But speaking of headaches, Dragon is one that we need to be able to try to talk
about.
Another beautiful bubble onto Raxo. Looking to go in, beautiful polymorph as well to stop the engage from coming in. But yike now, obviously he can re-engage the
the Valkyrie
now in. He has 6 on his hand, and he wants to try to fight. That Corgi is rare to go, but they will go. They will not go.
Yeah, and there it is. You can see the skirmishing power coming through. Aka being quick on the move, I think, is really big there as well. Forcing Memento out of his own jungle. And actually just means that Cody's son is going to get dove.
Oh, no. He has to force the flash out, too. And because he also doesn't land the W, they can't re-engage on this. They could have perhaps gotten a sum out of Yike, but no. Suddenly now, bot tower is all the rage. There you go. There's the culling. A lot of damage put down on the 2 different members of Mirage, Elyandra. They gotta try to run out of here.
Yeah, this is tough. The early game certainly going in favor of LDLC in terms of some of these trades. Memento really playing with fire there in this one, but overall still gold lead, very, very minor. Exa Kick, though, crucially, is getting some early turret gold, and this is exactly how Lucian wants to be playing, getting this pressure, being able to grab whatever turret plates you can, and to stay ahead of the enemy AD carry. And so far, we're in a position where LDLC are stronger at the moment here.
Yeah, but the biggest thing I have to be able to look at, right, considering they've built up these small engages and just minuscule leads in a couple of their lanes, it's not about capitalization, right? Although they're not looking to go back and farm up and reset, not take any unnecessary engages, but a fair amount of these players, once they reach their at least 1 item power spike, right, especially for Ragnar too, because he finds a way to engage, Exa Kick as well, he gets a big power spike as a Lucian alongside the Nami to burst on anybody in front of him, and even just Zinja too, getting more tank stats. I want to see them be a bit more forthcoming with what they want to do, because the longer the game goes on, Mirage is very happy with that.
Yeah, but still, you do have these team fighting tools that we keep talking about, especially when we look at Ragnar. But it is possible, yeah, you do want to be able to scale up. Like you said, you have Gwen, you have Cody's son on this Jinx, who's going to be just a nightmare to deal with later on. And as long as they can keep this gold difference, I think that's the big thing. 600 gold apart right now between the two of these teams. And I mean, going even when you have a Jinx on your team, I think is usually pretty good. It's still just going to be about how well Mirage played these fights, just because of the fact that we're already seeing examples of it. The CC is there in spades for LDLC. The fact is, DOS can land a bubble, can even get a slow, and immediately yike, or somebody else can pounce. And this is, consider this, Ragnar hasn't been part of anything yet.
I mean, you are kind of right, yeah. He hasn't been able to show his face throughout whatever we're doing. And considering This TP change is coming big on that. The cannon is usually a really big fighter once it comes to level 6, but we still got a couple more minutes to go before he can make more so of that impact. Not the first item in for him either, but considering you reported Ragnar before too, Ragnar as well has been very high on just ganking a lot of other lanes too. He's a big, in fact, Scion player, interesting enough, so seeing him on the cannon is a little bit interesting, but a hold my breath is Rex.
Okay.
Alright, bit of fancy feet for Execute to get the first blood, but they will trade for Rift Herald.
And Exakick, reading Raxo like the morning paper, just landing almost every bullet of that culling, just being able to take him down. Yeah, it is nice that you do get Herald to go with 2. It is nice because LDLC now, they can win on multiple sides of the map here. In this 1v2 scenario, he secures the kill. And now on the other end, we have Corky package. You can dive mid, you could dive top if you really wanted to, and then just drop a bunch of turret plates all at once.
Oh, dude, and this right here I find is one of the best uses of Corky package, especially when you want to make sure it doesn't necessarily run out as well. This is how you just maintain lane priority almost the entire time, right? Because that does so much damage, and later on in the game, as it spawns more and more often, this then becomes a timer for Mirage and Elyandra to actually play around. Because if LDLC has package, realistically they can't fight.
Yeah.
They can't go up against them at all because that package will absolutely tear them apart, burn them within a couple of seconds. And yeah, that gives them actually a really nice window for LDLC to capitalize more on these objectives considering the first dragon was taken away.
Yeah, not a whole lot to really play for at the moment here. It is just doing your best for mid priority like you're talking about. And as things kind of slowed down, we're getting closer and closer to the point where TPs do get unleashed. So far, we're really starting to see, before that happens, this bot lane in isolation, how well it's been going for Exakick and DOS. The fact that almost a 20 CS lead in favor of Exakick on this Lucian so far has just been running the lane. And this is a pretty big deal because keeping ahead of this Jinx is what's really important. And Lucian, you want to snowball, you want to just keep using this lead. After you take down one turret, you want to move elsewhere. And once that happens, he'll have enough gold that he'll just start ripping people to shreds.
Oh yeah, because especially going into that mid game alongside the Nami, just that attack speed boost, right?
That's right.
Once he gets about 2 items, like Lucian really hits his highest point there. Yeah. But as of course you go later on, right, that short range does kind of diminish his overall returns. But if we're looking at it right now, this is what I was saying, man, for the next 4 to 5 minutes, LDLC have what I like to call their golden hour. Definitely, that's what they got. That's where they got to snap all day picks. But actually, right now getting pushed in. Yike is also here, but yet again, the wave not in a opportune position.
Yeah, and I think that was actually a big read from Cody, Sun, and Raxo. They noticed mid and jungle and support were mid. They're not mid anymore. But hold on, Bad Lulu's in trouble.
Yeah, okay. Dodging the final shuriken to make sure he stays alive, but Bad Lulu has been having a bad time in this lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Again, ranged, but still, he's been able to keep it within 20 CS. I think that's all you can hope for, especially the fact that you haven't given up a single kill. And speaking of, even though Raxo and Cody's son had a good read, now they might get jumped on.
A good slow on top of that as well. They traded a couple of tower shots in between them. Execute takes one too many, but he's chunked down about half health. But this Rift Herald should at least give them a lot of nice gold, although it's traded between 3 different people. For now, though, Execute will be very happy to take that, like you mentioned, staying forward as much as he can, but there's a bubble shot. Re-engage, nice kickback. Moving on to DOS, he's exhausted as well. Execute can't do nothing at all. The fish goes bye-bye. Cody saw looking for the re-engage after Yike, the TP as well from Rangchun, but he's all the way back into the tower. That's not 14 minutes yet, so he just shows up to say hi.
Yeah, the TP is definitely a little ambitious. Not a whole lot was going to come through at that point. I think once you get the kill, LDLC were just going to walk away. So that is a resource. It won't be available right when teleports unleash in less than a minute's time, but at least it is a cannon wave. You do get to come back and catch most of that, so it isn't the worst thing in the world there for this Orianna. I mean, overall, if we take a look at the gold differences so far, it's just about 2K in favor of LDLC, and a lot of that is coming from CS, since it's 1 kill apiece, but it has been important for them to find these early leads because of how strong their comp's going to play out.
Yeah, and considering talking about the Orianna as well, right? You were mentioning staying up a little bit in CS even after losing, going down for the TP as as well, so managing these waves. And we were mentioning before that Rangjun is one of the players we got to look out for in this team.
Yeah.
This guy was on Damwon Kia before, just shadowing under Showmaker. But I'll stop that as you see under the Damwon skin,
It's
Ragnar
just so clean.
tries to show up and show
Wait,
out.
is it?
Oh my god, he stays alive. Bad Lulu. Once again, he's still going to go back for the farm. A little bit ambitious, has a lot of mana, but yeah, he's you gotta give this up, man.
Yeah, surely he'll walk away at this point, especially with the enemy team. You see on the minimap, they are moving their way up to the top here. I think that Lulu is actually going to try and catch this next wave and hoping that the overextension comes through. Think about it. Ragnar has no ult. He's half HP, and Memento is in the area just wishing he would.
Oh, my God, bro. He's ready for, like we said, with the fire is a blade, but he said, who want the smoke, me? I got my gas mask on, let's get it. So, he wanted too. I was going to say, just previous point, to finish off our Rangjun as well, he was a Vlad player?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's so cool, and I was hoping that perhaps he would try to bring that out. Although Vlad doesn't have the best time with the Corki, right, you still offer a little bit of utility if you want to go for more of that scaling, then, it's an option, but, I will hold off, and I can continue on just dreaming to see if we'll see more of my boys on the Rift, and I'll be happy that, Corki at least just continues to see more play, because just looking at him being right now beat down. He's almost stacked his tier also, so that Miramon is about to come in, and he's about to get a really nice spike.
Yeah, it will be really important here. And speaking of, you see Mythics come through across the board for everyone on LDLC side, so they could go for this Dragon if they want to. I do appreciate, though, that Mirage are prioritizing it. All 5 members here and ready to go. And Aka, because he's still teleporting in, LDLC can't do anything about it. Can they walk away from it is the question, and this is actually a really big deal. The fact that they're able to continue stacking these Dragons, finding any opportunity they can to just continue piling them up, because this Soul is going to be their way back into the game.
Oh, 100% too. And we've seen that third Dragon is really where the game kind of flips on its head, right? For a lot of these teams in many of their games, whether or not you're able to achieve a get Soul point, it really does determine how long your games are going to go. And considering how much LDLC have been pushing, they maintain bot lane priority. Like you said, the Lucian is so far ahead. He's in fact 2 levels ahead of Cody's son, bro.
Yeah.
That is kind of wild, but funny enough, DOS is 1 level down from Raxa. So I like just the dichotomy we're seeing, but main point being, he's doing quite okay in the package being put out yet again to just delay the wave a little bit.
Yeah, and then like you're saying, just using it mostly as a wave tool, wave management tool so far. And at this point, you don't have to go for these big plays with the package. You still have Ragnar if it ends up coming to that, and you save those packages later on for that. So I like this use of it, where he is, using the utility as much as he can here. And now as they back off, Memento is going to take this Rift Herald, which is going to be a nice thing for them as well. That can be a way for them to get some gold back into the game. We don't quite have objective bounties available, but at this rate, we may see them pop up very soon in the favor of Mirage, and that is going to be something to play for, especially if they still have Rift Herald when it happens.
They're almost 4K gold down, as we see here between these two teams, but only 1 kill traded so far is the most interesting part. And speaking of bounties too, Aka as well has accumulated 1 for himself by just playing and farming and doing his thing. Only about just a little bit of CS up on his lane partner, but the fact that they know that the Corki right now can be just so lane dominant too, he just has so much priority getting gold funneled into him, and even with this now as well. I like this a lot from LDLC because they're now just matching Aka on the top side and not pushing his 3, so kind of setting up almost a 1-3 by the end of it, but making sure that Yike is there chilling just to make sure that Aka does not get dove upon. And with this too, LDLC have managed to gain so much map priority, especially as we head into the 2-minute timer mark before the Dragon spawns.
Yeah, and Baron as well. And that's important because you don't want to let that Dragon Soul point come through like you were mentioning earlier, Robbie. It's because it is Mirage's window back into the game. LDLC know this, so getting more control over the map, soon you'll start to see them commit more vision to this bottom side. Actually, in the jungle, in that area of camouflage, you can start to see them, because what should happen is that they'll get to that area of the map first. They can set up a bush play or a camouflage play, if you will, and that could be an easy way for you to set up Ragnar with that slicing maelstrom. All he needs to do is find a nice little corner to hide in and pop out at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. We talked a lot about Fnatic Death Rush. We talked a lot about being sneaky across all these teams. We talk about OOM. I think this is where OOM has to show that being momental, right? And just chill inside the bush, inside just all the mist in general, and be ready to pull out the Sonic Wave with the resonating strike. And of course, with that, they can just fight on fight. But like you mentioned before, the Rift Herald will at least allow them to open up the bottom tier 1 and also give Bad Lulu a longer lane to try to contest all the pushing that has been coming forward. And so Exekick and DOS can just continue to funnel more gold onto themselves, considering Exekick is now at 2 items. This Lucian is now officially scary.
Yeah, and it's nice because Mirage, they managed to... There's still a lot of gold on the map for them just because of the fact that that was the first tier 1 turret they've taken thus far. And if they manage to secure a few more, I think they'll be in a good spot. Oh, my God.
Okay, one more auto would have definitely done it. I'm actually shocked he managed to get away, but maybe the cooldown of the rocket just simply was not enough, and the minion block was nice from him, ranging, living by a hair.
That is actually pretty crazy that he managed to survive that, but his taken out of the picture for the moment here by Aka one way or another. Now he manages to walk away with that blue buff and just walk back to their side of the jungle, where now they can recall. And let's look at the mini-map for a second, everybody. Look at how much vision is all across there in favor of LDLC. Most teams, you know, they focus a lot of their vision on one area depending on what's available, but at this point there's so much map pressure they've been exerting. They just pretty much the whole map is lit up for them. They have so many key areas that they're keeping an eye on. Of course, now they're going to focus their vision on the bottom side because Dragon is coming up, but unless this Baron gets started. So overall, LDLC, dude, the macro has been nuts.
Oh, dude, that's been absolutely phenomenal, too. I like a lot that they also have a couple of the vision wards right behind them as well, you know, near the tower, just in case they're not being set up for a fight near the Dragon, too. I would like to see their vision pushed up a little bit more, just around just the red dragon, just around just the red pit, because considering all that mist is there too, so one vision ward along the mainly taken patch would be quite nice. But you get Aka going on top side, getting some solo goal for himself, and making sure he can use that package to push the lane just a little bit more. But they don't even need to push the vision at all, because Yankee's gonna take this away in secrecy. Look at that. So I found Mirage decided, you know what, we don't necessarily need to fight for this, and now the game gets extended even more. LDLC finally finding a dragon of their own.
Good. You delay that soul point that much further, and you make it so that Mirage have to fight you in about 5 minutes' time. Well, the way this game's been going, and the fact that LDLC are about 4k gold up, at 5 minutes' time, we're going to be at like the 3-item mark for a lot of these key carries. A lot of the damage dealers on LDLC side already have 2 items. Big spikes coming across the board. So when this fight actually comes through, you can see it. They're just looking. They can look for whatever they want to.
Really, the wild growth put on to Rax, so they try to just stay alive for a little bit longer. Good trades to poke between the two. Shockwave is also still very much there if they want to try to use it to go in, but for now, though, oh my god, Aka's Rockets just put up so much damage that they decided to take the fight.
You do force out the ultimate from Raxo. No wild growth available for a little bit now. Because of that, you have a lot of pressure. You can look to dive if you so choose, or you just do what they're doing. Move up, secure vision around this Baron pit, and potentially set up a Death Brush play because you have control of vision in the area. Mirage can't let that objective go without looking. But, okay, they do have the Scuttle Crab, so it actually won't be as big of a deal for them here, so they can just back up.
Yeah, it's they managed to at least extend a bit more of their safety, and they don't have to necessarily spend ultimates to try to check, but there's one ultimate being put out right away. DOS as a fast over the wall, nice little fancy feed, and there's a rocket as well to possibly confirm, but a really well set up pick.
Really nice play. Dragon's Rage coming in to kill DOS, and now you get no support, means you don't get to set up as much vision as you want until DOS gets back on the map here, and that gives a bit of a window. You can see it, Cody Sun is pushing mid so that they can move up and try and clear what vision they want to for the Baron part of the map. Since we are 3 minutes away from the Dragon, at this point, you're just looking for plays.
Yeah, this is another player right here. Oh, the nice little snip. Onto Ragnar, though, doesn't have enough damage to slice the Maelstrom. I'm actually a little bit surprised on that, too, considering Bad Lulu able to sustain through all of that and more. I guess Riftmaker just OP, or maybe Gwen is.
Riftmaker's really nice on Gwen. That's all I'm going to say on that one. The Merc Treads certainly help. There's a lot going in this Gwen's favor when it comes to the 1v1, especially there now at this point. But overall, you do get the flash out from Ragnar. You do get the ult too, which is a big deal. In these coming fights, those are pretty crucial tools. So Mirage actually have a bit of a window if they want to try and make something happen here. Like, we can look at this Jinx. Cody Sun does have 2 items, so he is strong, and the teleport's coming through. They want to force something.
This might be a nice little base set up by Raxo to go on onto Yike, but DOS trying to run away, and with enough of that speed up with the Nami, so they should be pretty safe. But considering both these teams have been just kind of walking back and forth in the top side and just deciding, hey, can we find somebody? They trade vision, they trade wards, but finally LDLC gets something out of it. They pull away enough attention to get mid-tier 2.
That's a nice Exakick knows his team is safe, so it's going to be easy for him to pick up that extra gold. Really nice heads-up play, which just continues to add gold into LDLC's pocket, and constantly they are just slowly stacking it up where they've gotten up to 5,000 now. Aka, if Memento's not careful, they might get him.
Yeah, they most definitely could. There's a shot being put out to slow them down just a little bit. Memento as a safeguard over to the side, but it won't matter because he's gone and donezo. They trade away docile at least for this for now. But look on the other end, the Bad Lulu are trying to defend against the base, but it's a nice little trade defending the LDLC doing their thing.
Yeah, they're still firmly in control here, and that aggression onto Memento. If Yike wasn't so low HP, they could probably make a play for the Baron here, but I see the pings coming through. The damage is there. You have 280 carries, Ravi. They can just absolutely demolish this Baron. You can already see it happening.
Yeah, this goes down just so fast, like you're mentioning. All that damage out with the cannon being added in as well. There's no Death Rocket to try to check it. There's no Shockwave. There's nothing up right now. They gotta go in blind. Yike is kind of low. You can try to take one. That's Baron in their favor. Ragnar goes in super deep. Tries to use that to get away, but look at Yike. He's holding them all off. He'll be the sacrificial lamb to make sure his team gets out.
Yeah, I think that's worth. You trade your jungler for the Baron. You still have 4 Baron buffs you can play with, and you just get all that extra gold into your pockets here. Mirage still only have 1 turret to their name. Now, they might be able to get this next one, but Doss, because the turret is so high in health, he can just hang there with the Baron buff and keep these minions nice and beefy. And there's still teleports on the table as well, of course. And because of that, because Yike is going to be back in about 10 seconds, if LDLC stall correctly, they can still make a play for this dragon.
And stalling tactics we've seen have been a big name of the game for so many of these teams, especially on these very powerful objectives, right? And considering all the ultimates that are now all the way back up, right now for Mirage 2, LDLC got to be thinking, all right, they might want to try to take this to the least, like you were mentioning, try to do something, but they're just being held off. Rangjun is just keeping them at bay. That's sole point coming out from Mirage, and even one, you know, for this, especially one for this Dragon 2, it's not what you wanted to give over so readily.
No, probably not, but given Yike's spawn timer and the fact that he was coming back, they just decided they weren't going to bother with it. Instead, push mid. You saw the pings. They're moving to the top side, still trying to control the map, getting shove in all of these lanes. And right now they have the Baron buff, so they can actually do a lot more damage as a result. Hide in the camouflage because of the Chemtech Rift, pick up extra gold with this tier 2, and still remain firmly in control of the map and this game.
Yeah, and this right now is just another way to do it, though. It's good wave clear that we see on the side of Mirage, but LDLC just have a ton of pushing power too, and considering how much they can poke from the east side angle, this should be an easy top tier 2 for LDLC as they force down one tower after another.
Wow.
That's the last tier 2 to fall as well, but nice damage being put on both ends.
Right, and ultimately, this still very much benefits LDLC. So now everybody, I want to say is going for recalls, but they're actually hanging back, waiting in the brush to see if somebody tries to check on them, pushes up a little too far here. Worth noting, Ragnar has the ultimate ready to go. Now they can continue playing for 2 lanes. I'd keep an eye on Memento at this point. He's in the camouflage on the right side. Might be able to make a play onto Ragnar.
Perhaps you can see if they can try to find him, but so far,
Rangjun
takes a big rocket to the face. Now he has to back out just about half health, but like you see Ragnar on the other end puts a slice of maelstrom, and the kick also being put out as well. But there's the stun as well. Memento gets chunked to just about half. It's a final 3 different ends. A snip, snap. That's Yike gone again, and Ragnar too gets turned upon. That's topside gone for LDLC. These are the new stays for this LDLC team, and they can take it out just as fast.
Winning the fights in both lanes is crucial, and Rangjun still had the shockwave to play with, so you just wanted to back up, not actually go for that fight. It is nice of them to be able to pick up some of those gold, some of those shutdowns. It is not their way. They're not just suddenly back in the game, but this is a step. There are still objective bounties they can play for. There are still outer turrets they haven't taken down, and it's tough. You're going to have to overcome what map play LDLC have been setting up so far, making it so that all these waves are pushed in constantly, and all that pressure means that Mirage, they haven't been able to touch an outer turret since the bottom one.
No, bro. They just have to watch everything pass by them. It's almost as though they're seeing a TV show on live, thinking, "Oh, I wish that were me." Well, guess what? It could be. It should be. But as of right now, we're thinking that it just might not be. Because all the waves have maintained in favor of LDLC. They've managed to gain and control their power points on every single side wave. And now with Baron also taken off the board, and Soul I should say, up for Mirage, they know this bot side has to be theirs.
And LDLC already taking control over this bottom side here, moving almost every member towards it as well.
As we look to just refresh a couple of things here, make sure that things are looking clear for y'all. Like you're saying, you're going to see our beautiful faces yet again. But if we're looking across the board right now, like you were saying, that Dragon has to be the main objective for both these teams. It's huge.
Yeah, and that's why you already saw just before we switch back to us, LDLC, they're pretty much committing all their members to this bottom side of the map.
Yeah.
That's the thing, that's the perks of having mid pushed in, top pushed in so deep. You can leave that lane alone for a while and keep yourself in the bottom side jungle. If somebody walks into the camouflage unknowingly, you do end up just knocking them out, taking them down. Well, also what it serves, the purpose if that doesn't happen, is you get control over the vision. You push your vision line further, and it makes it so that LDLC, they can just comfortably push out this wave, comfortably spend time in these brushes in the enemy jungle, and make sure no one can walk up to the dragon.
It's so funny talking about vision, especially in Chemdrake too, because you're thinking, all right, cool, I can place it at exit and entry points, and that's kind of about it. But all these main areas we see at the top and bottom side of the jungle, right, it's get a little bit hairy. They definitely did see their own vision would be taken, so Mirage are, I believe, painfully aware of where LDLC are trying to set up. They can see that they're trying to bait them into whatever box that play. They're not going to fall for it. They're just going to continue on pushing mid and set exit kick instead to just try to clear the wave.
This point seems like LDLC have been revealed, but the TP is coming in, and it's coming in deep. I think this is with the package as well. Aka, he's finally has the opening to look for a play here with that package.
Yeah, Bad Lulu as well trying to fight up against a 2v1. The nice rocket lands on Ragnar. That's a Sonic Wave, not Resonate Strike, but instead Aka, like the chat.
Oh, they're going back in.
Was up against 3. Now Whip becomes lightning.
Tidal
He's not
wave.
nearly in. That's swiping out to 1. The kick lands onto another. A jungler down for Mirage, and that's all they need. All these sums blown, the dragon should be theirs.
And they could look for a little bit more here. They're sending one person onto the dragon. That is Aka, and they're going to move the rest of the members going for the Baron here. They get 2 for the price of 1 off such a crucial pick here, and you're seeing it solidify. The pings are coming out. Rangjun does have the shockwave, but is he going to be able to actually make it happen?
I don't think so, personally, because if we're trying to see with a shockwave, it's a very, aggressive and confident play, but they're not going to listen to me. They're going to listen to themselves. They want to go in. Dragons barely locate. They do try to shut it down.
Whoa!
As they look to go in onto more, the Baron is quite nice, and Ragnar stuns a couple more people, but Quincy's alive through all that engage. The stopwatches are absolutely abundant, but the big carries of LDLC do manage to stay alive. The Lucian, the Corki, and they continue to hunt for more.
Oh, you're going to see the Shrelia's pop. They need to try and run away, Robbie. They lose one more, and that's going to be the game. LDLC will win it here and now. I mean, they're already in such a good position to do so. Exakiki's healing up on the wave. He still has plenty of damage to give. And when Ragnar comes back, I saw him buy the death cap. So this cannon is absolutely fed, and we're going to see the first inhibitor broken.
At least not with that. LDLC, after all that wave and tower pushing too, have been able to crack open and maintain one permanently pushing lane for themselves. Although topside a bit of a long lane, I'm best at thinking like, if it was mid, it'd be quite nice. But nonetheless, though, LDLC through these small engagements and getting crucial picks time and time again have continued to push their lead. And now with Dragon taken, of course not necessarily solo point for themselves, but Baron on their hands, they can continue to get more.
Yeah, and Soul point, or rather a soul point for LDLC, the potential soul for Mirage is still on the table. We're 3 minutes away from that potentially happening here, but who knows if the game will actually last that much longer. We're still a minute 30 on this Baron buff, Ravi. And the thing is, LDLC, All they need is one more opening to look for here. Ragnar just got the Slicing Maelstrom off of cooldown. If he finds another opening, like he did before,
Yes,
LDLC could look to end things here and now. You're right, he does have the teleport as well. Plenty of vision for him to go for, considering how deep LDLC have managed to put it in.
Yeah, considering too, I just see this ward as well that was dropped right outside of the red buff too. So considering it's in a very tight corner, I can't imagine it'll be found. Now that gives a Ragnar a perfect flank angle. If he wanted to choose try to engage on this, but instead he'll just walk it down all the way in bot lane and choose to be up front and center for the potential fight that's about to come. Because let's look at the setup here.
Yeah, you're going to see it. They have the turrets. They have a caddy who's buffed up and good for sieging. At this point, you just have to let it happen. The wave clear is good, but you can't necessarily walk into their range if you are Mirage. That's going to be a second inhibitor exposed. You have Aka still pressuring the mid wave with a wave coming very soon. Now the calling is coming through, Ravi.
Yeah, they do manage to chunk down just to support them, but you see Aka on the back end losing a 1v1 up against Ranju. Now he's trying to run away. Suddenly this becomes a 4v5, and now LDLC have to kind of cut their losses. They'll choose to take the inhibitor, the rocket. Oh!
Wow, that's close.
My man was confident on that play, but look on the back end. Instead, XK will go to way too deep.
Wait,
the bubble doesn't
what's
land.
happening?
Why did they turn around? Oh my god, they lose so many. That's another one down as well. Aka got it while he could, but they lose 4.
Man, that is a crucial misplay going back in here, but it allows Mirage to go and borderline ace LDLC. 4 members, a lot of shutdowns, and some objective bounties they're about to pick up for themselves. This is by no means meaning they're just instantly back in the game, but this is a pretty good start here. This is exactly what happens if LDLC do not get the fight that they're looking for.
Bro, LDLC, qu'est-ce que c'est? What's going on? Who is that? I am confusion. So perhaps, you know, I do understand that maybe they thought they could have a potential like way in, like you were mentioning. LDLC wants to continue sieging. If they could, you know what, if we can get one more pick like we did before, then things turn a little bit nice for them, a little bit happy sunshine. But sadly, it is all rainy clouds from here. And as Mirage right now, like you were saying, they got a solid way in. They managed to close the goal gap a little bit more too. It was 9K before, not just down to 4.
And I'm really glad we're going to get a replay because we can see exactly how this one goes down. X-Kick, he gets Insect, gets taken down, and it's LDLC coming to the rescue. That's the thing. They're kind of scrambling their way into this fight, and you can tell they realize, wait a second, this was not a good idea. Okay, we're here, let's full commit, and they just end up getting demolished, with Aka being the only survivor.
Yeah, see, but that's my boy in tag. I'm leaving him to just absolutely set off with Aka, like you were mentioning. He used the package to engage all the way in, super deep. It's a nice poke damage down, but they won't be able to force down this mid-turn as of yet. I know they'd love to do so, as it is sole point for LDLC and sole for Mirage.
And I think with the mid-wave where it is and the fact that they're already on it, that should be an easy dragon for LDLC, especially with Memento. Oh my god. Oh my god.
The burn?
Wait, is he gonna burn?
Oh,
okay.
it's fine, it's fine.
So the Command Protect will keep him alive, just barely, by the skin of his teeth. But there it is. We have Chemtech soul point for both of these teams, and in 5 minutes time, if we get there, it's going to be the fight for the soul. But at the moment, LDLC, despite some of the misplays, despite getting caught out by Mirage, they're still up 3,000 gold, still in a really strong position.
And I like that at least with Mirage now setting themselves up for the first 2 dragons, they've given themselves a little bit of a bumper at least, considering they did fall behind a little bit going towards that mid game. But we're now at the 40-minute mark almost here, beatdown. This is where we were talking about Lucian falls off a little bit and Jinx becomes a real problem. But they just have so many options on LDLC to take out the squishies. I'm not too sure what either team will try to do considering how fast everybody dies.
And at this point, yeah, Mirage, like you're saying, they could get torn to pieces if they are not careful. Now, with all these waves pushed in, you still have supers coming on the bottom side of the map. Oh, man, at this point, they're walking up, Ravi, but there is an angle for this play to be made.
Yeah, Ike's already there on the back end of it. They look to already find one nice kick away, but the wave used for the follow-up, and that'll at least save his team momentum, doing that time and time again, getting Yike out of the way. But LDLC found a little bit of their engage to get more priority back, and I'm sure they want to go back in.
They could literally do the same thing over and over again, but instead they're going to go ahead and start the Baron off again. This will be their second Baron, and here is the TP coming through. I think that's going to be bad. Lulu on his way in.
Yes, but look on the other side. Aka's just chunking down all the members of Mirage, the one after another. Those rockets are huge. The shockwave gets him back to, but Yike fighting the 1v1. The snip, snap, and that's that for Yike 2. Now LDLC already lose 2. Like I said, Maelstrom will chunk them down. Who says lightning doesn't strike twice? Because it does on Mirage.
And LDLC are going to secure themselves the win. Look at these spawn timers. There's no way Mirage are going to be able to hold it down. It's just Raxo on the Lulu. And what a great team fight. It worked their second time around. LDLC will win their first game of the split.
Benjamin Franklin is absolutely turning in his grave thinking, I can't believe there's this many lightning strikes. Where my kite at, bro? Let me discover electricity once again. But right from that, we were looking a lot at these laners. We were looking at the engage. We were looking to make sure that Mirage could possibly find the way back in. But LDLC keep doing that and more.